Good morning, traders. Welcome to Tuesday of this beautiful week. Make sure to swing over to ssftg.com/brief to grab your morning brief levels. Before we jump in, as always, we need to check the news so that we know what's going on and, more importantly, when it's going on. Nothing worse than being surprised by a news announcement. So looking at the news for today, obviously investing.com, they rank their own announcements as medium. At least it's better than them ranking them as high. I guess they toned it down a little bit. But as far as the news goes, 10 o'clock, we've got medium numbers, ISM manufacturing employment. 10 o'clock, the larger numbers, ISM manufacturing PMI for December. The forecast is 56.6. A little bit later in the afternoon, we've got 15:45 news with Chicago Fed President Evans speaking. 15:45 also has FOMC member Williams speaking. And then at 16:30, it's Tuesday, API weekly crude oil stock numbers come out. So plenty of news, not anything really that big. The majority of news coming out at 10 o'clock, but that's really about it. So let's jump on in for today. Today is 1/5 of 2021. Starting off the day on the NASDAQ and showing a very good amount of support coming in here. Buyers attempting to defense off of the BL1 long zone. And initially, it was looking kind of sketchy where there's a bit of resistance, a bit of back and forth, and then chunked straight above it. I don't have it drawn up, but there was a nice L2 there, and then nice two-legged pull right back down. And as soon as it even thought about touching or retesting that L1 zone where all of those other sellers were stuck from earlier, it just screamed right back out of there. That is an incredibly bullish indication that the market's likely to continue back up, at least towards major objectives to fill in some of this open door up towards the 12,808s, 12,840s. It wouldn't be bad either to see 12,872 up to the 12,900s, but realistically, I think a lot of sellers are going to be thinking shorter on this side of things, trying to hold the market down for a lower high and then break back down to reattempt those 12,640s. So something along the lines of this move up, nice little pullback, rally higher somewhere inside here, and then a drop back down. And then from there, that's where they're going to have to make the decision. Do they want to go higher or lower? If the market just goes screaming through here, then that would be obviously a pretty good clue as to what they're thinking. Over on the S&P, it's in a nearly identical situation, setting up for a very strong bullish incline, big dip out of the break L1, right back up again. Strong reversal showing good continuation. Major objective for ABCD continuation would be up towards the 3730s to 40s, and then again, that's the L4, that's the one I prefer, but if it wants to go to 5, then you've got 3750 to 60 in that zone. All of it basically just coming back to where all of this previous structure was and wanting the market to fill that back in a little bit before figuring out what it wants to do from there. It's obviously incredibly bearish, but in the near term, honestly, it makes a little bit more sense to want to lean on the bull side given this failure on the base. It wouldn't be a surprise at all to see this trying to trade back up towards the highs once again later today. On gold, it's still, oh man, gold. It's just grinding and forming a little bit of a rounded base. There's not really a whole lot going on. Honestly, gold just kind of died. We left behind this gigantic open gap, and it looked like there was going to be a fairly good amount of bullish strength, but after that rally, it started going sideways, and it's having a heck of a time getting out of here. Now, the one nice thing for bulls is that it is still showing an attempt to try to rally back up, but we're nearing into the falling resistance. The entire time the market's been going higher, the MACD's been pointed straight down, so none of this is backed up by technicals. Usually, when that's the type of situation that happens, it's going to end up being either a 2-press top, which is what we're working on right now. This would be the second press, and then a drive back down. Or this is going to be an attempt for the buyers to get a 3-press leg before a deeper pullback. Right now, we're here. So it's kind of dependent on where the market wants to go. Obviously, this would tell me that I don't want to buy way up here. I want to buy a pullback, and that's kind of what we're waiting for. There's just not a whole lot of structure to really play around with on gold, and with that giant open gap below us, it's a really gross market right now to want to try to mess with. Over on crude, we can see sellers attempting to hold down on a structural L2 as a zone of support and resistance, which was holding initially, but with this wedge break and a reversal back up, it appears as though the buyers are simply too strong, and we're trying to get a continuation up. A lot of times when that occurs, we're going to see a move back up towards the next logical zone of interest, typically psychological. In this case, that would be the $49 level. That's also major swing high, clustered swing high, swing low, and a double breakout point. So there's a lot of stuff that happened in the $49 range, and it would make a lot of sense to see crude oil want to try to creep its way back up there, especially now that we've broken above the L2 and really disproved the sellers. Basically, anything from this point is just going to be a buying opportunity. I'm not really interested in buying way up here, but a pullback back down again would be a very favorable situation for buyers to return back up from that point, and maybe keep the trend going all the way back up to 50 again. We still haven't hit that $50 mark, and it's still waiting. On the euro, we're still dealing with that wide open gap down below, and as we were picking up on yesterday, the euro overall is a bit weak. We're not really seeing a whole lot of decent continuation, and yesterday really kind of confirmed those fears with that big slide all the way back down. Since then, the market has tried rallying back up. It seems like buyers are probably stuck more than anything else, but we're kind of at that turning point. If the buyers are stuck, then they're going to be looking to exit at break even here, and we'll see the market turn back down and probably go down to the next major zone of support, fill the gap, etc. But if it does start breaking back above these 1.2300s and leaving everyone in the dust, then there's a chance that we might start squeezing the sellers who are looking for a second leg lower, and so far they've just been getting buried. They had that initial drive down which worked perfectly, but now we're right back up to those highs again, and it's not going lower yet. So any sellers who are still in here are starting to get a bit nervous, and that means that they might be quicker to exit, causing bounce points at higher lows instead. So around an L4, L5 on a higher low to continue the move up if buyers are going to hold it aggressively. If they're not going to hold it aggressively, then we're probably just going to jump down and fill the gap next. And then finally over on Bitcoin, big washout all the way down to 28,000. Huge zone of support. I mean, absolutely gorgeous zone of support for a V bottom. Bounced it all the way back up to almost 33,000. Now, the one big thing that stands out here is that we do have falling resistance, and it's a bit of a concern. The only reason it's a concern is because the buyers tried breaking above it, even holding it as support multiple times, and failed. That's not great. Now, they are holding a BL1 long, so buyers are still trying to keep this going to the upside, but we're in the same spot again. Now we've got this falling resistance that the market's going to have to fight through yet another time before it's able to go further. And now if it does go further, now it's going to have to work through this too. So there's a lot of stuff in the way if Bitcoin's going to keep this rallying back up. And given how many bulls are likely stuck on the highs trying to chase with that bit of FOMO that I think everybody is feeling now that it's in the news and the limelight, and Bitcoin's gone 3 times higher from the last time people checked it at 10,000, it's going to definitely draw attention. And keep in mind, we've got stimulus money coming if it hasn't hit the pockets of people already. And a lot of times, especially with Twitter accounts dedicated to how much that stimulus check was worth, what was that, the $1,200 stimulus check is worth X amount now, when that's showing that it's up like 300%, that kind of advertising is kind of hard to pass up. So don't be surprised, even though with all of this resistance in the way, to see Bitcoin squeeze. But generally speaking, January is a bearish month and not a great time after it has a blow off top. Well, I think a rally all the way up to 35,000 is a pretty good consideration for a blow off top. Might not necessarily be done yet, but on Bitcoin, at least in the nearer term, it's a little bit tough to want to be a bull where we are now. It's got to go lower or break higher first as proof. Then we can have something to work with. Alrighty, well that's going to do it for today. Like we always say, stay safe out there, keep those stops in play, and let those winners run. Until the next video, enjoy, rest up, and we'll see you all then. Thanks.